The effects of natural selection. So we're going to see the effects of natural selection on a population. So here's one particular population. There are the phenotypes of the mice, and so they are very, very light to very, very dark. And if you look at the frequency of individuals, most of them are kind of medium color. You have a few that are very light and a few that are very dark, but most of them are individual. So we're going to look at different selective pressures that can cause directional, diversifying, or stabilizing selection. So if you look at this one, it's called directional selection. What happens with this one is that there's some selective process that kills off the light colored ones. So the population over time becomes darker. So let's say the environment is very dark and hawks flying overhead are able to see the light ones better. They're going to come down and eat the light ones. Then eventually you're going to get a population that's going to shift over to the right and they're going to be darker. Alternately, um, maybe there are there are lots of different colors on the ground. For example, they live in an area that has like a lot of sand and a lot of dark leaves on the ground or something. And so maybe the medium colored ones are seen better by hawks or something. And so you get a kind of population like this called diversifying selection, where you have the phenotypes at either extreme selected for. And then the final one is stabilizing selection. Let's say snakes are better at seeing the dark ones and hawks are better at seeing the light ones. You might end up having these killed off and these killed off, and so you might end up with a population that sort of is in the middle. That would be called stabilizing selection. So let's look first at directional selection. This is selection that shifts the frequency of a curve for a phenotype character in one direction by favoring what had been a rare individuals before. So this is going to be more common in periods of environmental change. Otherwise, it would have happened earlier. So there's some kind of change to the environment. Maybe there's no more beach in the area, and or maybe there's an industrial revolution and the ground gets darker or whatever. For some reason, the light ones die more. Usually, they're going to be seen better by predators or something. So the whole population sort of shifts over, so you have more darker individuals. The next one is called diversifying or disruptive. That means you have fewer of the regular most common one. So the most common one becomes less common and the ones on either extreme become more common. So it occurs when environmental conditions favor individuals at both extremes of the phenotypic range over this intermediate phenotype. And then the final one is called, oops, sorry, this is one more example of that. So this is an example of diversifying or disruptive selection, and it can result in this thing called balanced polymorphism. So balanced means you have both. Poly means many, and morph is the characteristics. It's like morphological, the structures that you see. So for example, you have these two different birds, and they perhaps have maybe two different types of food. Maybe this one can get at little seeds or insects, and this one eats larger things like um, a big acorn or something that's really tough to crush. So you wouldn't end up with birds with beaks in the middle. You'd end up with beaks that are very fine and beaks that are um, very big and crushing. So two distinct bill types are present in this bird called a black-bellied seed cracker. Larger billed birds are more efficient when feeding on hard seeds, and smaller billed birds are more efficient when feeding on soft seeds. And the one in the middle doesn't do quite so well. So that one, oops, uh-oh, I did it now. No, sorry. Okay, so this one is that diversifying selection. So the one in the middle decreases and the ones on either end. This time it's not color, it's beak size. The ones on either end do better. Okay, and finally there's stabilizing selection. That's when the one in the middle, in this case the medium colored one does better. The ones in the extreme tend to be killed off. So this tends to keep the population sort of the same. So stabilizing selection favors the intermediate forms and acts against each extreme. So again, this could happen if the light ones or the dark ones and the dark ones are seen more easily and killed off. Stabilizing selection reduces variation, and maintains the predominant phenotypes. So here's an example. Oh, what a cute baby. Um, Human birth weight is subject to this stabilizing selection. So when I ask my students, I do have students that are born very, very little and students that are born very, very big. But overall, especially without modern medicine, the babies kind of in the middle do better. So babies much larger or smaller than 6.5 to 9 pounds tend to be more likely to die. And so if you have a baby with a birth weight around here, they're more likely to grow up and have babies that are like themselves that tend to be sort of in the middle. And that's the end of the story. What a short one.